Only bourbon fans.
All right, what's going on, only bourbon fans? This is your host, Albert, and I am here. We've got a special episode. I'm here with Heisey and Billy Morrison, and Billy is the owner of Lounge 611 in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. How you doing, Billy?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Billy's here because we are doing a single barrel pick today, and we're partnering with Lounge 611 on this. It happens to be a distillery from right here in Pennsylvania. It is Dad's Hat Rye. So we've got 4 samples. They are all 6 years old. The mash bill on them is 80 rye, 15 malted barley, and 5% malted rye. And the proofs are all between 126 and 130. So as we get into this, we're gonna the 3 of us are going to try them, nose them, and try them all separately. We're going to try and stay quiet about what we think, and then we'll share our thoughts after we take some notes on all of them. All right, let's get into it.
I assume we're starting with number 1.
Yeah, so I have actual dates. He sent the bottles with the dates that they were barreled and a barrel number. I'm not sure how much that matters because they're all around that 6-year age mark.
Gotcha.
But I did include the proof, and I have the same numbers as you guys, of course.
I started with the prime barrel bottle that I have just to prime my palate.
You warmed up?
Yeah.
Yeah, so anybody that's listening, you can go back. We did a review on a 3-barrel blend that was they had a cool name called the Dad's Hat Trick from the Prime Barrel, which is a website. And the story on that was that they couldn't decide on the 3 barrels, I think, so they just blended all 3 of them.
Yeah, and then Herman from Dad's Hat kind of confirmed that for us, I think.
Yep. All right, I may be a little bit biased here. I should have done these totally blind, but we were at Dad's Hat just a few weeks ago, Heisey and I. And this is kind of how this whole thing came about. And we were trying some samples out of the barrel there. Herman was giving us a nice private tour, and we tried a few that were just out of this world. And I wanted a bottle for myself so bad that I came home and worked all of my connections and finally got linked up with Billy here to find somebody that we could partner with on buying this barrel. So there's one specific barrel in here that I want more than the others, but I'll try not to influence you too much because I had picked this out in the distillery 3 weeks ago.
Gotcha. I'm going to grab another glass real quick.
Mm-hmm.
See, so now that's going to be in my head. Like, as part of this, I'm going to try to find that one that you and I both loved when we were there.
Yeah, we're totally influenced, but you don't know which one it is.
Right, I'm fully blind.
Neither of you do.
I hope I get it right, or it's going to get awkward.
You know what? I said, I mean, you're taking the majority of these barrels, so if there's a specific one that you want the most, I'm not going to fight you on any of them because I think everything that we tried at Dad's Hat was fantastic. But I will be throwing my 2 cents in maybe for one. It probably won't take you too long to notice. I'm not going to make one, just in general, they all kind of have like kind of like a fruity candy taste or smell to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, I'll try to be generic, but I'm actually, I don't know if my nose just isn't on right now. I'm not getting much differences as I'm going down through, just on nose alone.
No, they're not.
I got a little bit between 1 and 2. Working on 3.
And these are all barreled within 6 months of each other. All aged in the same warehouse, very similar proof. There should be a lot of similarities, but it's kind of cool that even that there is differences on them.
Billy, do you find yourself to be more of a bourbon guy, rye, scotch?
So I never drank much rye at all until quite recently, and I actually enjoy it quite a bit and tend to like it more with certain cigars. And I'm not sure why. Not sure what the difference is. I like some scotch, not a lot. Bourbon, I like most of the same things everybody else likes. I've gotten more lately into like aged rums, just because it's, kind of that region of the world is where tobacco comes from too. So a lot of those countries have both. So I've been trying to experiment with some Dominican and Central American type rums, just to see how they pair with cigars and things like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Is it maybe the kind of the sweetness that will pair better with a cigar? I'm always saying that because a lot of like cigar blends are generally like rum finished.
Yeah, I think so. I tend to like that kind of tinge on the look, but I smoke also personally more medium to full bodied cigars that tend to have some spice to them. So it's nice to offset that with sweetness of whatever you're drinking.
I did mention to you that I thought that these could have gone pretty well with a cigar.
Yeah, I've got one lit, so I'm going to test it out on the second one through.
And then I think you said that like anything goes good with a cigar or something.
Exactly. My favorite pairing is Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of bourbons that can get a Dr. Peppery. Definitely like a cherry cola, but there's some that are a little bit more Dr. Peppery on them.
Yeah.
All right, another generality. There's a couple that seem to be a little bit more like an herbaliness, and a couple that seem to be a little bit more on like the sweeter like candy side. That's just nosing. I haven't sipped on anything yet. Oh, you got the dad's hat on.
Representing.
Nice.
I'm a dad. I like hats. There's like a bad dad joke in here. Might as well rock the dad's hat.
It's hard to believe that these are this high in proof.
Yeah, when I saw the proofs, I was like, oh, but it doesn't. Yeah, that doesn't affect it at all.
I'm going with the good old Miller Lite as a palate cleanser.
Oh, nice. I've gone through the nosing. If you guys have any comments, I started to throw a couple out there. Nothing specific to any one in general, but I'm starting to taste through them now too.
And we're going to go the whole way through, right? Before, like, we'll just talk about nose and palate at the same time.
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
was trying to save some for Nick, but he might not get any.
They get a chance at a bottle.
There you go. Gotta wait.
You snooze, you lose.
Exactly.
All right, so while we finish this up, the backstory to this is while we were there, Fred Minnick was at the distillery one day before us. It would have been cool. We just missed him, unfortunately. But Fred did a pick while he was at the distillery. And they rolled out 6 barrels for him. And Fred's pick was there with his name on it. We unfortunately did not get to try that, but that would have been cool. But we did get to try some of the other 5. We didn't try all of them. But one of them, and the one that I happened to have liked the best on our distillery trip that day, happened to be the 6th barrel that Fred did not try. So they rolled out 6. He only tried 5. And the 6th, and Herman, while we were there, said, "Oh, well, we didn't get a chance to try this one. I've been meaning to see what it tastes like right now." And so we pulled that sample, and I was blown away by it. And Heisey, you were too. It was the one that you and I both thought was one of the best things that we tried that day. Now, we tried some other stuff, some higher end things that he wouldn't let us pick. There would be some distillery only special releases, but out of everything that we tried that day that was up for grabs in whatever way for purchase, that was the best, in my opinion, because that's all that this is.
If we do deem that one, we should, the one that Fred let slip away or something. That's what we could
the one that got away from Fred.
There you go.
And then we'll have to give him shit about it. See if he responds to us on social media.
It'd be cool if we could actually buy his barrel to compare, but I think that's like already sold out, right? That sold out like a day.
Was it really?
I think so. At least maybe that's pre-sale only, but
yeah, I didn't know. I didn't see any information, but I know it's on the website on Sealbox.
It's interesting how similar, like age, proof, everything there are, but once you get into a little more, how there's pretty significant differences in a few.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And then even to make things more complicated, I'm trying something, or I'm nosing something, and then I'm tasting it, and they don't. It's like they're different.
Yeah.
All right, so are you guys ready to talk about these?
Yeah, I gotta get to the last one here.
All right, I'll give you another second. I'm going to let you guys go first so that I don't say something that influences you. Any comments on the colors? I think they're all pretty similar.
Yeah, they're pretty similar.
Like there's a couple that I thought drank much better than they nosed.
All right, I don't have a lot, but I think I'm ready. At least start talking.
So I am. Got enough for you to get.
Yeah, and like some of the things I say is how I feel about something like in comparison to another one. I think that because they are very much alike. But Heisey, you want to kick it off? Just start talking, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, do we want to just talk about one individually or talk about the whole group?
Do whatever's at the top of your mind right now.
All right. I'll start with the nose, and like I said, to me it was tough to pick out differences on the nose maybe until I actually started tasting them. But off the my early notes were for number one, I have kind of like a deep sweetness I wrote down. That's me trying to describe it. It's different than like a candy sweetness. It's more I also have like bourbony written down. So more like vanilla oak sweetness with a little bit of candy coming through. Number two also had some sweetness coming through, but it was more like rye forward, and I think it knows the most like peppery or spicy. And then three and four were pretty similar to me on the nose. I was just getting this like kind of fruit, herbally, candy sweetness all together. And so those were just the noses. So from on the palate, I think number one kind of sticked with the uh say that bourbony kind of feel to it. It had a finish that lasted a while. It had probably the most amount of oak coming through than the other three in my opinion. Um and it still had like I think you can still pick out some of the rye, but it's a little bit more mellow in terms of the spice and that herbaliness. Two and three is like very kind of straightforward rye to me on the palate. I thought that they had kind of this herbal, minty pepperiness. Both had like really long finishes. Um, Number three was maybe a little bit like extra spicy for me. I don't know if that's uh like anise, almost like a paprika kind of thing going on. Uh, and then number four. So my number four I thought was kind of in the middle between how I'm classifying like two and three and number one. I think it was definitely more rye, but not as like herbally and minty, and not as much on the like the bourbon side of things either. Kind of in between the two.
Okay. It's a good start. That was good. I never know what to get out of Heisey because sometimes you just say, I don't know. It smells like bourbon or smells like rye.
I'm not good at notes, but I think just in like you got like these buckets, right? So I can tell you that like I said, two and three is more definitely in the rye bucket for me. One is more in the bourbon bucket, and then four is kind of in between those.
Yeah. And just to compare it to the first barrel pick that we did, it was a mix of all sorts of different. There were even different finishes, but there were bourbons, ryes, different mash bills, and different finishes all mixed into the 6 samples. So this is like you're trying everything that's very similar. So you got to pick out the minute differences in between them.
Yeah.
They're subtle, but I think that they are there, which is cool too. Billy, you want to take a shot at this?
Sure. I think I agree with what you're saying about the buckets. That's easier for me to wrap my head around. I think for bottle one, you were saying like the deep sweetness. I'd actually written down molasses, like that kind of sticky sweet, not candy sweet. But then on the tasting, it to me had a little bit more like peppery into it somewhere. So I don't know if cigars we talk about white pepper versus black pepper and all that stuff. I don't know, it was peppery. So and then kind of more herbal on that end as well. Number two, it's funny because like number two we're way different. Like I thought it was more like sweet caramel type sweetness on the nose on number two, and similar to that, even in the tasting a little bit. I think it was a little deeper, like you were saying. One is more bourbony, two is more rye. Again, as somebody who hasn't drank a lot of rye for a long time, I think I understand what you mean by that. And there's definitely a difference. If I'm thinking in my head bourbon, this isn't it. Like it's not what we're used to on that. And then three, I agree, they're both to me very similar. Two and three, I like the sweetness of both of them. Those are the two that I kept going back to smoking the cigar in between just to see how it kind of combined all three or both types of flavors and tastings and notes and all that good stuff, the combination. And I liked both of those from the standpoint of a sweetness that offsets the spicy pepperness of the cigar that I've got today. And then number 4, I don't know if my nose was just tired or quit, whatever, but it seemed like it was flatter. But I could have burned it out by then. So it might just be me. But I felt like that's where some of that spice and pepper came back a little bit in that number 4. Not quite as much as number 1, but a little bit. Like just you were saying, Albert, just the subtle nuances of it.
Cool.
They're all good though.
Yeah, that's why. Like the good thing is that it's kind of like hard to go wrong, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what we were saying while we were there, because everything was good, but there were differences along the way. All right, I will go down the list here. Number 1, I wrote the nose. It was hot on the nose, but it had like a green apple and definitely that like vanilla portion of the rye, or of like a bourbon, even though it is a rye. On the palate, I wrote green apple, honey. I thought it drank pretty easy, but it still had that rye finish too. That pepper. It's more of like a peppery rye finish that one had.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, I wrote that this was more herbal and kind of like a tea on the nose, but it was sweeter on the palate than it was on the nose. So that surprised me a little bit.
Yeah.
Now it's a little sweeter on the nose than I remember it before.
I know. Now I just did the same thing. I was like, oh no, it's sweeter now.
They do change. But that one, in comparison to some of the others, has like almost no pepper on the finish, just in comparison.
Yeah.
Number 3 on the nose, this one was like extra sweet to me compared to the others. And it was kind of like almost like a candy of some sort. And it's herbal, but not too much. And I didn't think it was as hot proof wise on the nose. And then it was still had that sweetness on the palate and a peppery finish. I'm kind of confirming that I still think these things as I say them.
Right. It's funny because I didn't say it when I talked about bottle number 3, but you I think picked up the same thing. I said like a sweet buttery caramel flavor, like on the nose is what I picked up on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's that, and then I think that there's also like a fruit sweetness too. Like there's both on there to me. And number 4, I wrote on the nose more rye and less sweet and herbally. I did not like this one on the nose. But the palate was much sweeter than it smelled. It's still herbal tea. It does drink hot, but I thought that it drank a lot better than it smelled. So I initially wrote this one just after nosing it. I put a no next to it. But then it drank a lot better than it nosed. So I wouldn't be so quick to write it off.
Billy said kind of flat on the nose, thinking that he was maybe burnt out. I had that initial impression when it first hit my palate. Like there's not much going on when it first hits your palate, but it finishes well.
It does. It's got that pepper part of the rye that we like.
Yep.
Okay. Do we want to start by narrowing the list down, or do you guys have do you have a clear cut like 1 and 4, or like 1 and 2 maybe?
I have a clear cut 4. I think 4 is 4 for me.
There we go. Yep.
That's what I was okay with kind of jumping out and saying that, especially after what Billy said.
Yeah.
Okay. So
which again, it's still good. Like if somebody handed me this on its own, I'd be like, that's really good.
Right.
But compared to the other 3, there's some that I like better.
Yeah. Should we rank 1, 2, and 3?
I'm nervous. I don't want to get it wrong.
There is no wrong.
I know.
There is no wrong, but I mean, you're buying the majority of this thing. You got customers to please. I'm just buying a bottle for my shelf and some friends.
Right.
I don't know about Albert, but I'm not thinking about what pairs with a cigar either. So I don't know if that plays into.
Well, they all pair well.
Yeah,
they all pair well. So that's not they're so similar that it's going to accentuate it in different ways depending on what you're smoking. So they all pair really well because of mainly the sweetness in the rye coming through. Unique.
So what if I said, is there a clear number 3 for you now that we've eliminated number 4?
I think number 1.
What about you, Heisey?
I'm struggling here, but I have number 2 as my number 3.
Number 2 is also my number 3.
What's your number 1?
All right. Well, what do you guys think about 3?
I like it.
Was it your favorite?
I think so. Yeah. Again, it's if I didn't have 3, I would like the other ones too.
What about you, Heisey?
I initially had 1 written down, but as we were talking and I was sipping back through, I started to lean more towards 3 because the finish is more like it takes you on a roller coaster ride a little bit, You
want me to tell you something?
Just hit me with it.
The one that I wanted to pick originally was number 4.
Really?
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, shit, I was gonna be like, dude, no way.
Do you want me to tell you what the one we picked at the distillery was?
Wait, let me get between 1 and 3 here. Let me do one more tasting between the 2.
I'll do it too, just to make sure I'm. Again, sorry, Nick, if you're listening, I'm not saving any samples.
He'll have a shot at a bottle.
Oh man! So I drank them in order the first time: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that I'm going back between 3 and 1,
it does change it.
One's tasting better.
Mm-hmm.
3's still up there though.
Wait, weren't you going to eliminate 1 before?
I was.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
The order matters. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I think the difference is an easier drinker, but I think I'm leaning towards 3
as your favorite.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Have you changed your mind, Billy?
I wouldn't be so quick to eliminate 1, but I think 3 I still like the most. That was the one that, like, I was going through the nosing and I had all written down, and 3's the one that hit me the quickest. I was like, oh, that's, like I said, that buttery caramel sweetness to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the tasting on it was good because it had the sweet, like you said, one of you guys said, I think the longer peppery finish.
Okay. I don't think we need to drag this out really too much any longer, but because 3 is the one that we picked at the distillery.
Is it?
Yeah.
No shit. I actually thought it was 1.
One was my number 2. And I went 3 is my number 1, 1 is my number 2, 2 is my number 3, and 4 was last.
Okay.
I think
I'm
that
okay with that. I could swap 1 and 2 easily, but I think 3 for me was more clear.
I think we made a pick
Yeah.
then.
Stands
I
out.
think so.
Damn, that was
Yeah.
way easier than the first one.
Yeah. Well, there's only 3 of us.
Yeah.
And I think we're all still kind of sober.
Right.
Well, probably not for much longer after we just
No.
rolled through these 130 proofs, but
Yeah. And that was what, 129? Yeah, like it
That's-
matters, 129 to 130.
So, and at the distillery, when we were trying through all of these, we were how many samples in at that point, Heisey?
oh man,
10?
8, 10? Yeah.
10-ish. So we've been drinking 100 to 130 proof for an hour and a half to 2 hours before we tried that. And it still stuck out to me then. And out of 10 different samples at that point.
Yeah.
So you always wonder. I mean, you were just talking about how drinking them in different order impacted how you thought of them. So that's also like, we were at the distillery. We just drank it out of the barrel. These things have been spending a little bit of time in these little mini glasses. How does all of that impact it? Not to mention that we just started drinking this morning. You're smoking a cigar. Those all change everything. We still picked that one, which I think that says a lot about it. I thought that one, when we were there, was extra special.
Yeah, that says something, especially Billy and I doing it blind.
Right.
Like Billy had no idea, none of that same experience. So
Yeah, and like I said, I even have a very little experience with rye in general. Like, there's this taste that Pennsylvania whiskey has, and this doesn't. This, like, I hate to say it this way, you can
And
like,
Pennsylvania rye,
this tastes like the real deal.
with it is Pennsylvania ryes have no corn in them.
Yeah.
So just the details on this, it was barreled 8/26/18, and it's still in the barrel today until we tell Herman to take it out. And it's 129 proof. So 6 years, 129. 6 years and a few months. 129 proof.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it doesn't drink like 129 proof either.
Now,
Pretty dangerous.
easy, very easy drinker.
Yeah, for sure.
Billy, you're going to do something at the cigar shop with this, correct?
I am. Yeah, so we're going to roll it out. I sent an email this week just to our members to give them kind of first crack at it. But then we're going to roll it out as 2 options to get it. If you want a bottle, you can just get a bottle. But we're also going to work with, now that I know which one we're doing specifically, I'm going to curate 2 specialty cigars that we don't even carry yet to pair with it. You can do it as a combo, bottle, 2 cigars to go with it as well. So that'll be available next week on our website if people are interested in that, lounge611.com. But yeah, so that's our plan with it. People want bottles, they can get bottles. They want to pair it. We'll have pairing options available too.
Awesome. And
very cool.
I want Heisey to go out there. I've got a baby on the way, so I won't be able to make it, but I know you're doing the launch party, so maybe Heisey can roll out there and be a part of that.
Yeah, keep me
awesome.
keep me posted on that. I'd love to attend. Drag some other guys into it as well.
Okay, love it.
All right, guys. Well, this is Only Bourbon Fans, Lounge 611, Dad's Hat single barrel pick. Cheers.
I still got some
Cheers.
3. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.